What a beautiful morning. Winterberg in Germany, second race weekend of the BMW IBSF World Cup for bobsleigh and skeleton. Hello everybody, welcome to sunny Winterberg as we get ready for the second and deciding heat in race 2 of the two-man bobsleigh season. Martin Haven and John Morgan ready to take in the action on what has been a beautiful morning full of entertainment. And at the sharp end of the field, plenty to talk about.
Yeah, Nico Walter, Christian Posner didn't get the great starts, but this young athlete who is started his career in luge, keeps coming out of the German program. More success so far in four-man, but here in the two-man competition, put himself in a bronze medal position. And then the two Latvians, Mel Bardis, Streetskins, these they own the track record at the start. They own it with another person who tied them today. But on the bottom part of the track, they couldn't post the best times, but they're on the podium opportunity, position second. And this guy here, boy, does he continue to improve. Francisco Friedrich, Torsten Marcus, two decathletes. They won the World Championships last year in Winterberg, going away, and they won both events last weekend in Altenburg. And guess what? They're the leader after one heat again today. No surprise to me.
Mel Bardis and Friedrich both inside the track record that was set during the World Championships back in February here. And Francesco Friedrich, for the moment, leaves it at 55.02. Could we see the first 54-second run ever on the Winterberg track? It's not beyond the bounds of possibility. It's cold, it's crisp. Bit of an overnight frost left the track very fast this morning for all 28 crews. If you didn't make the cut, it wasn't the track's fault. It was errors by the crew. And there is Max Arndt, Nico Walter, all aiming for a podium. And the logjam around bronze medal position includes this man, Justin Cripps. We have 7 or 8 sleds who could take a medal. Who will remains to be seen. Francesco Friedrich, you have to look at you as being your odds-on favourite for victory. Won two-man and four-man gold last weekend. Won the World Championships here in February. But Oscar's Mel Bardis just 1700ths away. That could be a bridgeable gap. Not easily, but it could be done. This track is all about the detail. It's all about finesse. It's hugely technical, very straightforward to learn, but really difficult to get the ultimate run off it. So let's see what our athletes can produce. Just waiting for the first of our sleds on the ice, and that will be the man who was 20th in the first of the two heats, Loic Kosterg from France, with Roman Heinrich behind him. So top 20 of the 28 sleds from the first heat go in reverse order, which is why Stephen Holcomb goes off second. He was 19th, Batazza was 18th, Ronaldo Monaco 17th, and so on down to the man who was first, Francesco Friedrich. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. Friedrich and Margis go to defend their lead at the end of the run.
Let the games begin.
Loic Kosterg and Roman Heinrich from La Plaine in France make their season's debut here. They didn't race in Altenburg. They did the Europa Cup here in Winterberg instead, choosing to spend the first 2 weeks racing at the same track and build up their knowledge.
Very suspect start time, 24th out of 28 in the first run, which is tells you he drove pretty good. 5:33, 100 better start speed, 44.7. Keep track of that start speed. That has a lot to do with your downtime. The drivers from La Plaine, you know, the Olympic site for the Albertville Olympic Games in '92. The brakeman, Heinrich, he's from Grenoble, which was the site of the 1968 Olympic Games track, which was up in Alpe d'Huez. It was one of the last natural track Olympic Games track in Alpe d'Huez. It's been coming on. We've seen some pretty good results from him as a driver, but with that suspect start time, it puts such pressure on your equipment and your driving skills. It's tough to get into that top 10.
First run time, 56.07. Will he be as quick? He is. And that shows exactly what we saw in the first heat, that the track held up and, in fact, actually produced more speed, perhaps, later in the runs than it had right at the very beginning when it was maybe just a little frosty from the overnight low. So We had Kosterg, who was 20th off, and 2 sleds from outside the 20 in the field.
This is the crossover in the bottom, the labyrinth three-quarter combination, and the exit here into the finish on the right side. Let's see if he taps on the take-on going in. No, pretty good line there. That'll be better than most we'll see. We'll see a lot of people tap that right-hand wall, force them into the middle, they erase some speed, and you need that speed because you go into an uphill section of the finish curve.
Next up, Stephen Holcomb in the USA, 0.08 of a second ahead of Loic Kosterg of France from the first heat. Holcomb nursing a leg injury from last weekend. Did 2 or 3 steps before he jumped in.
Set. Back set.
He should just be sitting in the sled. He's got an upper quad injury. 28th start time out of 28. Puts a lot of pressure on the football player, Sam McGuff from Cypress, Texas. And Holcomb almost a kilometer down to the French at the start. But Holcomb didn't have a very good drive down the track. And, 19th place. He's probably just hanging on, getting experience in the four-man, and he's looking more towards after Christmas. He's hoping this quad injury does not get worse. Ooh, there's the same mistake he made the first run. Tap before he gets on Kreisel.
Well, the speed again is lower. That changes the nature of the track. But Holcomb with the lead over the French at the moment, not by much.
Ooh, that's a bad transition there at 9. Not normal to see Steve Holcomb make a mistake like that. He's losing time back to the French, and this could be right to the 100th. That mistake in 9 could cost him. Doesn't. 55.98. He goes
100th of a second quicker the French on this
He should have been 10,
Yeah.
1500s quicker there.
Again, when you've got that injury, if you've just tweaked it a tiny bit in that run, then that is going to be just biting with pain all the way down.
You could see him limp.
Yeah, I think he might have just pushed a little more than he needed to there.
Not the normal Steve Holcomb line tap here. Not only did he tap here, he had some problems on the exit of 9 right here. Watch him come up. Maybe a little late right there. The runner's up near the wood, and then he skids out of 9 right here. Watch the same. This is the exit of the curve. That's why he was like 12, 1400ths ahead. He ended up only 700ths.
Yeah.
But Holkie.
One more to survive before the Christmas break and some rest and rehab. Holcomb leads. Next up, Simone Bertazzo of Italy with Simone Fontana behind him. And they had an 800ths advantage over Holcomb from the first heat. The gaps, even at this end of the 20, are tiny.
We saw a lot of mishaps getting into the sled, too. Teams weren't cleaner. Boy, there it is. It's a bad tee shot. We've talked about it. I guess I jinxed them, huh?
That was brutal. That's the first one we've seen hit the wall on the right.
So everybody else but the left,
but it's a real bottleneck. It comes at you from both sides.
So that's either the grooves aren't really good on the exit, which is surprising because they just recut those grooves. And it's going to be a tough road to hoe for Simone Bertazzo. And he makes a mistake like Holcomb on the bottom part of this track. He can find speed. Remember, Holcomb was pretty sloppy down here. But at the moment, he's only 1200ths back. He could catch him down here if he's clean, and he's clean there.
Holcomb went off quite early, only 12th, and the track definitely sped up later in the runs.
Yeah. Top speed, 131 kilometers. Holcomb was better than that, so it's a question of how many spots is he going to fall? 2.
Wow, drops to the tail of the field. You can't drop out of the top 20, but you saw Steve Holcomb on the left, Sam McGuffey on the right in the leader's box.
Well, we talked about in golf, you need a good tee shot. Can't put the ball in the woods, 2-stroke penalty. Well, Simone, he got a 2-stroke penalty off that first tee, and he knows it. He can't make mistakes like that. He had the 24th best start time in the first heat. This will be the worst start time probably of all 20 sleds. Look at this. How not to do it? I mean, I don't understand. When the brakeman, somebody ran too far. He didn't get in quick enough, get his hands on the D-rings. He's too experienced of a driver to make that type of mistake in the first 70 meters.
Monaco's Rudy Rinaldi, first race of the season for him. 17th in the first heat from 17th off, with Boris Vian behind him.
He beat Holcomb by 2,500ths at the start. There's our D-rings in there. That's what they got to get in, not to hook their feet when they jump in on those things. Rudy Rinaldi said his goal was to improve his starts, and that he did over the season. It's the first time we've seen him. Look at how quick Boris Van is in there, 5:26. He's got a huge amount of time on Holcomb. Best speed, 45-kilometer speed. That means Boris Van, a very experienced brakeman, had power step and velocity into the sled. Half-second lead. Only some taps up here could eliminate him being the leader at the bottom. Because once he gets that speed, pretty tough to erase half-second. There's good lines, much better line than Holcomb or Bertazzo.
Top speed so far for the Monaco sled.
Bruno Manjean sled, he's pulling away now.
57 miles an hour out of the throttle, accelerating hard here.
He might lose some back, but he's going to be the leader.
Doesn't look like it on the camera, but the sled really picks up speed below the Kreisel. Absolutely flies down here. Come off the Kreisel.
Best speed, 135.2, 55.79, 300's better. Holcomb on 100 better, but Holcomb was lost by over a half-second at the start over 2 heats.
Yeah.
No chance to compete. Not bad for Rudy Rinaldi. We're not used to seeing him up here, top 17, 18. The former bronze medalist at the Junior World Championships 2012. Well, he might be running up here with the big guys. Exit of 9. Look for the runners here. Is he skid? Back end? Yeah, he got a little skid going there. That's not the way to get through 9-10. Lost a little bit of time, but still had the best speed on the bottom.
Been a while since Monaco have been in amongst the front runners. But Rudy Rinaldi might have what it takes. Switzerland's Beat Hefty and Sandro Ferrari. Beat Hefty and Thomas Lampard still hold the start record from November 2008, when Hefty led a Swiss 1-2. Rico Pater rolled off the final corner to lead, and then Beat Hefty rolled off the final corner to take victory away from him. That was when Hefty could barely ever be beaten in a two-man here in Winterberg.
Well, we don't have a headshot from Ferrari because he's a student. He studies all week long. He comes in on Friday night, doesn't even practice.
Wins on Friday, doesn't sell on Monday. He goes back to study on Monday.
Yeah. Well, Hefty was unbeatable on this track 2 or 3 consecutive years because of his start time, but he doesn't have a start time anymore. And his drive, when we saw at Oldenburg last week, and his drive here in the first run, wasn't Beat Hefty-esque.
Wasn't quite what we expect.
Him with the start time was, he's naked without it. Speed down here is dead heat with the Monaco sled, but the Monaco sled had problems here. Hefty, same. Ooh. That's going to be a big, big speed problem there for Halton.
700's behind, not sure he's going to find it.
No, it's unbelievable.
Citius sled is quick, but I don't think there's enough for it. 1700.
Fourth best time of the run. Now that's unbelievable that the young Rudy Rinaldi has beat Hefty, Holcomb, and Bertazzo.
Well, only Bertazzo has gone slower. That's the second slowest second heat. Beat Hefty threw that away.
Well, the track gets cut up pretty quick here too, but Beat Hefty down here in the 15th, 16th spot. That's, boy, for a guy with as many medals around his neck, well, he'll show us the exit here of the same curve. Now watch the back end skid get away from him.
Oh, ugly. Again, that ain't the track.
It's not Beat Hefty.
That ain't the track.
The dog is only as good as its master. Wasn't good drive there.
No. That's him done for the weekend. He won't be racing four-man, so he will head off to Koenigsegg in Bavaria next weekend for the next two-man installment. 5 down, 15 to come. Monaco's Rudy Rinaldi leads from Switzerland's Beat Hefty and world champion Stephen Holcomb. 3 Russian sleds in the top 15. Nikita Zakharov and Nikolai Nezdilov. First of them in 15th place after the first heat. Martin Haven, John Morgan watching the action.
No start speed. Very surprised at that start clock. Third best start. 500 slower than the Monegasque, but they were 2.5 kilometers slower on the exit of the curve.
Already behind the leader, Rudy Rinaldi. And they were 1100ths in front of him from the first heat. Now they start to find the pace again.
Well, the Russian sleds, all three of them, were proficient on the bottom part of the track, and they're doing it again.
Speeds aren't as good as they found in the first run.
Should be enough to be the leader. Yeah, he's pulling away now.
Yeah.
Really clean.
There we go.
134, not probably the second or third best speed. Second best speed, 134.8, but Rinaldi and Ben, yeah, Pierre Luder says it's good.
Yeah, it was.
Nice to see Pierre Luder smile.
And he had a good first run, Nikita Zakharov, off start draw number 18 to come down 15th, and his teammate Alexei Stilnev off start draw 21 came down 14th fastest, so Stilnev also had a good drive.
Kids, good crowds, very educated sliding sport crowd here in Winterberg. And this is 10. This is where you got to let the sled run. Don't alter the speed. You're still accelerating here until you get into that finish curve, start going uphill. Okay, get in the box. Hope you spend 4 or 5 sleds in there.
Smile from Nikita Zakharov. Didn't race last week in Altenburg. Alexei Stilnev, start draw number 21. He was only 18th in Altenburg last week. Maxim Mokrusov behind him.
Notice the driver's not wearing a knee pad on his right knee. He crashed in Altenburg in training, had 6 stitches. The stitches are still in the leg. They're going to come out tomorrow, according to the Russian doctor. And so he's been running around, a little wounded. Did pretty good in Altenburg last week, considering he was 60%.
Yeah, made the cut, made the second heat, and here from 21st in the start draw, he's come down 14th in the first heat.
Boy, he's got pretty good lines. Let's watch the back end here.
As soon as I said it,
he dropped, hit that take on going in, and that back end of that back shot going into Kreisel. So important to be clean into that Kreisel.
He was only 200ths in front of his teammate after the first heat.
This looks
he's
good, though.
100th in front.
Speed on the bottom part of the track. He's got good lines. He's got great. Ooh, doesn't have the speed.
134.8 from his teammate at the line. He's behind. Can he tuck it? No, goes down. So 900 slower on that run. He had a 200s advantage.
And don't think it's not a race within a race amongst the Russians.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pride, a lot at stake. Russia 1, Russia 2, Russia 3. I'm sure Luders juggles that around according to results each week to bait the athletes to do better. And remember, this guy here, the driver, watch the brakeman's hands come up. This is a little cohesion that you need at the start. Now watch the into Kreisel. This is the mistake a lot of people are making. Coming off that soft speed entrance into Kreisel, you can't make that tap.
Almost impossible to avoid it. And if you do avoid it, it's because you steered too much. Now, Alexei Stilnev, beg your pardon, Nikita Zakharov leads for Russia. Max Arndt and Kevin Kuska, start draw number 1 for them. Only 11th quickest at the start, only 13th by the bottom of the track. But
I was very surprised at that. Something he might have been going across some frosty ice. Let's watch. 11th best start, his experience, he should have been. Remember, he had that problem at the start with the push bar.
Yeah.
Maybe, let's see what they got, 44.7, 5:24 start. Now, I think that problem at the start caused him for the bad 13th, 14th place finish.
Yeah.
I expect him to post a fantastic time like he did at Altenburg last week in the second run and sit in the leader's box for 3 or 4 sleds. Because this guy has got the eyes and the hands to bring it down the track. And he did not tap on that take-on.
Speed into the Kreisel and out of the Kreisel. Top speed at the moment still Monaco's Rudy Rinaldi.
Yeah, 1200s. Now let's see if he can get it up to 135 down here. Watch these lines. You barely see the head slapping around.
Yeah.
Down to 8 though. Lost some time back.
Hasn't got the speed.
135 is pretty good.
135.2 for Rinaldi.
That's the best speed.
135.6.
Only 300s.
Yeah.
That's weird. His best speed and then he loses that 10 hundredths on the bottom part of the track.
The run was not as quick as that of Nikita Zaharov. He survived only on his first round advantage.
And with that being said, my thoughts of him living in the leader's box for 3 or 4 sleds might not be true. The last trip, the push bar collapsed on him. This time, the equipment holds up. And watch the size of this 6'4", 240-pound monster in the back, Kevin Kuska. He's got so many 3 Olympic gold medals, 1 silver, probably 7 or 8 world championships. He's the veteran of brakeman in the field. He's been sliding for 14 years. He wants to go through the Korean Games.
He wants to make it 20 years as an athlete. Wow. Max Arndt leads. Max Arndt was 1/100th of a second behind Donghyun Kim of Korea. In fact, the group from 10 to 15 covered by just over 1/10 of a second.
Pretty good start the first run, 5:22, so they should go 5:21, 5:20. Ooh, real hard jumping in the sled, 5:23.
I don't think Koreans have sacks of potatoes, but that was one hitting the back of the sled there. It's a big bag of rice.
He drove well, good speed on the bottom part of the track in the first run.
300s up, so he has tripled his first round advantage over Max Arndt.
Now let's watch his entrance here into Kreisel. Let's watch him from the back seat to see if he's down the middle.
Neat. Yeah. Now, how much did he steer? What's the speed? 89, not 91. That's
6. This is a lot of time right here. Ooh, a little late there. See if he gets through her straight. Looks like he has to get in the middle of the curve to drive.
Tiny advantage. Oh,
yeah, he's got enough. He's going to beat Max Arndt. Wow,
yeah.
That's a victory in itself. Koreans, wow.
Cool, good run.
55-62. Wow. Max Arndt, I'm very surprised at that.
Fastest run of the heat so far for the Koreans.
Better for
Kim
Donghyun.
2 runs for Kim within 400ths of a second of each other. So that shows now that he's getting to the stage where he can repeat, repeat.
This is down the bottom part of the track and the labyrinths. Watch the head slapping. Watch the back end of the sled here. Does he hit before he gets on? A little bit, yeah. Little tap there. And then this is the same pictures from the front. And you can see the articulation, the cowling, the suspension get stretched there because he was a little late coming off that curve at about 79 miles an hour.
Kim of Korea leads by 1/10 of a second. Next up, 2 Canadian sleds. And we are now starting to verge into potential medal upsets. Chris Spring may be too far away, over 3/10 away from a medal. But the Springer had a really good first heat. The mojo is starting to come back for Spring. Derek Plug behind him.
Yeah, the Springer, he's sprung himself down to some good speed in the bottom part of the track. Start time, best so far, best start speed. It's a little bit more comfortable than he did last week or at the end of last year. We sort of feel that Chris has been in a little bit of a slump.
Yeah, last year was a bit of a Tiger Woods season for him, wasn't he? But now he's certainly starting to find the form again. Only racing 2-man at the moment. So that cuts down your kind of track racing runs.
Good speed, good entrance, good exit here.
Yeah, top speed off the Kreisel.
Perfect. Look at these lines. He's accelerating away. Watch the exit here. The runner tips. Nice.
Well, this Janis Kratkin sled won the 2-man gold in the hands of Stephen Holcomb in Lake Placid.
This is flying here.
Rattles the wall, but he had great speed in the first run. And in the bottom of the second, 137 kilometers an hour.
Whoa, that's some big-time speed there. That's the best speed of the day, I think.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I'm thinking exactly that. I'm looking back at my first run.
55.
We had a 35.9.
He's 400s better than his first run, but
that's a good run from the Springer.
Only mistake he made was down on the exit of 13, down in the labyrinths before the finish curve. It's because he was flying. And look at the lines here. This is in the labyrinth coming up, these 3 corners. There's a little late there, which means he's going to be real late on the 3rd labyrinth, which is here. Now watch him come out. He's trying to get on the take on there. Now watch him come out and bang the wall hard. That mistake wasn't made on this curve. It was made 2 corners up.
Smile from the Springer. Congratulations from the Koreans. There's Derek Plug on the right. Chris Spring leads from Dong-Yeon Kim and Max Arndt. 10 down, 10 to go. Now it's time to get serious in Winterberg. Some good speed posted by that Yanis Skratstin's built sled of Chris Spring. Next up will be his teammate Justin Cripps. And then we have a tie for 8th place. So from Nick Cunningham and Ugi Salims, 37 hundredths off the lead, to 3rd place Nico Walter, 24 hundredths off the lead. We've got 6-7 sleds covered by 13 hundredths of a second. John, that's a classic Winterberg logjam.
But before we're done, there's our leaders.
Yeah. Classic
Winterberg is ties.
Yep.
Before we're done here, we're going to have a tie. We're going to have 4 guys hanging out in that leaders box.
Yeah.
Yesterday we had a tie in Skeleton to the 100th.
3-way tie, didn't we?
Well, for the final result, we had Trechikov, tie. Who did he tie with? Axel Young.
Yeah.
Axel Young, German. They tied to the 100th of a second, and that's happens here in Winterberg on this very precision track.
Yeah. You saw Kaylee Humphries down there doing the track walk. There's Jane Channel in the middle with her teammates. She claimed her first ever World Cup medal in the women's skeleton race. On the right, Barrett Martineau. On the left, Dave Kucheshin. They're taking a day off, the skeleton sliders, most of them. You can see Michaela behind, Michaela Widmer from Switzerland, and some of the others were out relaxing yesterday evening and just taking a day off, watching the racing.
Look at the wind coming in. You know what the wind means? Change of weather.
Yep. Well, looks good in front of us.
It's been fantastic for this 2-man race. Little suspect for the men's and women's skeleton. The Canadians, cold weather guys they are, they're putting their jackets on.
Spring has been doing a bit of shopping, liking the hat. It's a look. Not sure I can carry it off, but Springer is full of confidence right now as he leads with 10 to go. Top 10 sleds ready to come down in Winterberg. Race 2 of the 2-man bobsleigh World Cup for 2015-16. Athletes and fans watching alongside at the top. And in the booth, Martin Haven, and beside me, John Morgan. John, a lot of close racing to come in this top 10 before we get to the medals.
Would be surprised. Would be surprised if we see a tie.
Justin Cripps, 10th place after the first heat. His teammate Chris Spring, the leader at the moment.
5:13 start.
Big start from them. They were 4th fastest in the first heat. That's a really good getaway.
Good speed. Did make the mistake in and out of curve 0, which is seems like the albatross for a lot of the teams.
Well, this is where he gets redemption, doesn't he? He hit the wall in before he got to a turn.
That's terrible there, though. That was a curve 4-5 there, sucked him right up. Too much steering, and he's going to lose, get penalized for that. He's got a 1/4 of a second lead. That's a lot of time to throw away in this little Winterberg track. But if there's any place to do it, it's coming up right here, curve 9. Watch the exit here. See if he gets out of here clean. Yes.
Nice. Right. Now Cripps can start to build on that 1900
smooth,
lead.
but he's losing time back. Doesn't have 133. Oh, no, that top speed's wrong.
Yeah, don't forget how fast it was at the bottom. That's 200ths quicker than Chris Spring. 2 years ago, Chris Spring was Canada 1, and Cripps was definitely coming up on his tail last year. He went blazing by him, and now Spring has pegged him back. They are pretty much even in any run.
Yeah, start times, though. You look at it. Cripps got a much better start time.
Yeah.
When you make a mistake like that, Spring didn't make a mistake like that up top, but boy, down here, this is smooth. Let's see if he hits coming into this finish curve.
Well, Cripps started 900ths quicker, finished only 200ths quicker.
So Springer outdrove him.
Yeah. Or Cripps underdrove himself, whichever way you look at it. Now then, we're getting into medal territory. Tie for 8th, Nick Cunningham and Carlo Valdez of the USA with the 3rd of our Latvian sleds, but within 1300ths of a second of a medal. From now, anything is possible.
8th best start in the first run. 5:19, 100 slower, 45's not bad. Second best start speed. Carlos Valdez, Carlo is a javelin thrower, UCLA, track and field athlete. Nick, Boise State guy, decathlete turned rodeo rider.
100 behind Cripps, needs to keep this clean now.
Well, Cripps made a big mistake up here. Cunningham wasn't clean there at all.
91.4, not as good speed as we saw from Chris Spring's sled.
Oh, down to 500's. Got to be clean here to have a chance. He's got a chance.
136 at the bottom will really help him as he tries to climb further up the order.
Top speed.
1100s, don't forget he started 22nd in the draw. 55.43.
135.6, that sled on the bottom, the BMW sled flew. Cunningham, 2 good runs here for Nick Cunningham.
Yeah.
This is a real positive for the men, for the U.S. Let's listen. They're having a lot of positive results in Altenburg for the men, U.S. team. Little skip here. Look at this. Ooh, yeah, you can see Carlo had a little slip there with those spikes, 375 of those 16th of inch spikes. And then down here, boy, speeds are slow. Watch him tap going into Kreisel. Well, he's not the only guy making that mistake. When he hit the wall like that, it pushes you away. Skidding
Everybody
across the
does
ice.
it. Well, there's a big smile from Cowboy Cunningham, and that'll do a heck of a lot for his start draw for next week in Koenigsegg. Next up, Uge Salims, Intars Dambis, tied for 8th with Cunningham and Valdez. These guys started 9th out of the shed, Cunningham 22nd, and normally those two numbers would never meet.
These guys had a 500's better start time, so they should have 5:13, 5:14, 5:11. So they went better at the start. Cunningham went 100th worse, and because of that, they're going to be about 9-10 hundredths better down here at this next clock. Probably 1200s better at the next clock.
5:11
that start speed.
5:11 was the third
1500s
fastest
better
start in the first heat.
So good lines here. This Latvian will be the leader at the bottom. And remember, Cunningham was a little sloppy up here on the entrance into Kreisel coming up right there. And the Latvian looked clean.
He's a kilometre an hour shy on speed going into the Kreisel. 1400s, hasn't opened up any more advantage.
He has now.
Crept away, 1500s.
Oh, that's a little rough there on the exit of 9. I don't know if that's going to cost him. This should be enough. He's going to beat him at the start.
They were tied
down to 8
in the first heat. Will they be tied in the
right
second
to the
heat?
100th.
This could be close. They could be tied. No! He beats him by 100th. So Cunningham tied for 8th, now will be no worse than 8th, and Salims will be no worse than 9th.
Well, I think Cunningham had a better sled there because this guy had a clean line and didn't have the speed on the bottom. Didn't make any kind of mistakes like Cunningham made. Beat Cunningham by 500ths at the start. Cunningham got to the bottom with better speeds. He looked high here at 9. Let's see how high he gets up there. This is the second part of the exit. Does he come to the middle of the curve? Yeah, he's coming over in a bad angle into 10. Should have been a little bit 3-4 inches up more on the right to take advantage of the speed line.
Look what we're talking about, 3 or 4 inches at 65, 70 miles an hour.
1 inch, 1 inch.
I know. So we've just seen Uge Salims of Latvia. Next up is Oskars Kibermanis, 200ths of a second quicker than our current leader, Nick Cunningham.
These guys know how to start. A couple more decathletes from Latvia. Seems like the whole decathlete federation's in this team. 5:11, 5:7. They tie the start record.
Big effort.
Whoa! What an athlete this young. He's 22 years old, right?
They know how close they are to a medal. They know how close.
They just put the afterburners on, and now if he's clean down here, he could position himself. If he has a clean ride, he could put himself to win his first medal ever.
They were 1100ths away from a medal in the first heat. They took 4 of those hundreds back in just the start.
20 hundredths down to 17, though. It means he's losing time back. Should stay at 17 here. 15. Boy, I can't see him throwing away that much time here in the bottom. The other Latvian sled did, though.
It is so tight, this race.
Speed, 134 will give him enough. That is 6.
Oh,
this might not be
close.
Speed's not there.
Is he going to be in front or behind Cunningham? And at the line behind, Cunningham climbs again. Oh,
so
boy.
they're set up a run or something because this guy had that much better start. Cunningham outdrove him on the bottom, had better equipment, but
Cunningham had a smile on his face at breakfast. It's going to take 2 days to wipe the grin off him now.
what did he say before at breakfast? What was the thing he said?
Bringing fun to the 20s. Well, now he's bringing fun to the
top
single
six.
digits.
Tied the start record that was set this morning, was tied this morning earlier by our leader, Francisco Friedrich. Look at the lines here. I don't see a lot of mistakes here.
Well, is the sunshine finally starting to have an impact on the track?
Runners are set up there.
Is the ice finally softening up?
The BTC sleds against the BMW sled. The BMW sled won in those 3 runs.
So far. Next up is Rico Peter, Switzerland, Bro van der Zijde. 6th place after the first heat. They were 7/100ths from a medal.
Yeah, this was all pretty jammed up, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is the real logjam. We're going to see some proper sorting out now before we get the medals decided.
5:16 start in the first heat with this gigantic brakeman on the back. Van der Zijde, I mean, he's a monster.
Clock counts down from 60 seconds.
So 7th best start in the first run, but the start speed was as good as anybody. High 45. Oh, and only 42.1. 13th best start speed. That wasn't like that in the first run. He's going to be 1500s down here at this. 1500. No, he's 1000s probably down.
Okay,
What?
well,
Something wrong.
yeah, something
wrong
with
the clocks.
Because he had a
Westbrook up there.
6.5-second start, which he
Something
certainly
wrong
didn't.
there. So we now are into the twilight zone.
Right, okay.
We might have to have a rerun here.
We
There's
are
something wrong.
absolutely going to have to have a rerun because he did not start in 6.5 seconds.
So we're still looking, and there's no way that he could be this time.
Well, right now,
I think we've got to take a look at the Swiss coaches. They're going to be throwing the red flags and the protest flags in the air real quick.
if there's not a flag down on this track, then
there's not something wrong.
There's no way. I mean, 20th place. No,
Everybody,
exactly.
the whole crowd knows.
That's screwy. Okay, so
See if we see any officials or something up there.
well, now we're going to have a rerun, but we've only got 5 sleds
Well, we don't know
remaining.
what they're going to do. I mean, they're going to figure out here. I'm sure the jury members are gathering, and the Swiss coaches, I'm sure, are barking.
Currently, that leaves them 4th. Oh, right. Clock's changed to a 5:18 start, so there has been a glitch. It was a 55.69 slide, only 6th quickest. So that makes more sense. At a 5:18, it certainly didn't look like a 6.5-second slide.
Technology. We talked about technology failing on the sled. Our technology failed us there, but they've got that backup timing system.
The guys
they
at
recovered
Swiss
it.
Timing worked really hard to get that. So it wasn't the greatest run from Rico Peter. Cunningham leads.
He's in 5th place now.
Cunningham leads 5 to go.
He's got a chance to get the
From
Russians
22nd.
because the Russians don't get a good start. Kasanov does not get a great start. So there's a little delay here in the track.
Yeah.
I think you're still there. They go. They got the
Kasanov had 800ths advantage over Cunningham. That is nothing.
especially at the start. He's going to have a slower start. He's going to be behind. He's going to be in red figures here.
As he sits down, yeah.
No,
5:24.
Same as he had, 43.8. Cunningham had better start speed.
Cunningham started 5:19, so that's 5 of his
Should
800s
be
gone
red
away.
numbers. Could be close. Right here at the next clock. Should be within 1 or 2 hundredths. Even, right there. Now we'll see how good a Kasanov's a great pilot. This Russian sled was as good as anybody coming down the track, especially speed on the bottom.
He's the last hope for the Russians of getting into the medals.
+2, tapping before Kreisel, which is going to really penalize him.
Still in the red.
+3. Still could find a fast line down here.
Not off 89.7 out of the Kreisel. That's not enough. He needed 91 to be competitive down the bottom.
Last hit. Cunningham's going to get him.
35.
Cunningham moves up 5
Cunningham's
spots.
going to lead by 1300ths, 55.64. Rico Peter just came down 55.69. Before that, Keebermanis 59, 55.48. Last 3 runs have been off the pace.
Best American finish in two-man bobsled since December 2014 when Cunningham won a bronze medal in Lake Placid. So,
listen, when you're 1,300s away on this track, anything can happen.
the lines looked good. I mean, those take-on, watch the back end here. As he climbs into the finish curve, does he get on too early? Yeah, a little bit. Can't see much wrong there.
Again,
He doesn't know either.
when you look at a racing car that's slow, despite what looks like a good line, you look at the contact patch, the tire. Here, you look at the runner.
Dropped 5 places, Casanov.
For the medals, Yun Jung-won of Korea, 400ths off bronze in the first heat. He took bronze last week in Altenburg.
An 1100ths lead on Cunningham, and he's got a better start. So it's 13 or 14 here. 09.
5:09.
Wow. They went for it. Big
How
speed.
much do they want this medal?
Well, this Korean program has got such energy. Winning a medal last week in Altenburg. He'd never been on the Altenburg track, the most difficult track on the planet, and he shocked everybody by posting a medal on that track.
This is his second ever race in Winterberg.
Huge lead there. Good line.
2200s over the Americans. This is for the medals now. Let's not shilly-shally around. He wants one again, like he got last week. 2/10 up.
He's losing a little time back, but he's got enough time here in the bank. Only bad lines. He's got to be the guy. He's got enough. He's going to win by 1000s, 1200s. Another great performance from the Koreans.
1100s in front, 55.41 slide. Cunningham's was a 55.43. So on that run alone, Yun Jung-won of Korea would have been in front.
Listen, the energy in this Korean program.
Last week was the game changer.
Now,
last year they wanted medals. Last week they won a medal. This week they will be disappointed.
Good lines here
win
on the exit. Great start, 5:09. Proved their start, 4 500s. Wow.
Big start, big drive. Could be another big result.
2 years,
for the Koreans.
2 years out from their Olympic Games.
400 days and counting. Nico Walter, third after the first heat. We've got 2 German sleds in the top 3, 1 Latvian sled, and the Koreans are trying to kick the door down of the establishment.
Boy, they better get a start time down there, 13 or 14. The Koreans went 500s faster. He's going to have to do the same. Christian Posner, husband, Jamie Grubel, the American driver.
Good loads. What's the start?
5:20, disastrous start. I don't think there's any way he can catch the German or the Korean on the bottom here with
He
that
had
start.
400s in hand over the first heat. He's just given away 11.
Boy, Nico Walter, he went from 3rd to 5th last week at Altenburg. He goes from 3rd to 5th here again. There's going to be a lot of head shaking in the German camp on this track. Boy, he's only got it down to 11.
Korea are going to be in the medals again. It's not
yet,
enough.
Not yet. If he gets this down to 8 or 9 here, he's got a chance.
Needs 135
No, he doesn't.
at the bottom. He's not going to catch the Koreans. One of Korea is going to be in the medals for the second straight week.
Watch this celebration in the finish box.
Good speed, but not enough.
He can find past Cunningham. He does.
Oh!
Look at that. Christoph Langen, 2 weeks in a row, his driver couldn't deliver the goods, but his start time was suspect. And he fell 4 places. Cunningham is now in 4th.
Yep. No worse
than 4th.
There's 2 to go. Cunningham might be in the medals. 1 might move to silver.
Look at the gate. What happened here, though? Why they had such? They went 200 slower. Everybody else going faster. Both driver, brakeman at the same time. Good cohesion by Posner. I don't know what happened, but the start time was suspect.
Well, Rico Pater a couple of sleds ago, he went a couple of hundreds slower as well. It's a couple of hundredths of a second. The real worry is they're not getting the speed on the ice.
Start
start runners, I'm saying as well. They're going to look at the runners and go, that was not quite
that ain't runners.
where
That's
we
a
needed
start
to
time.
be. 2 to go. One of Korea leads. Will there be a Latvian on the podium? Oskars Melbardis, Damas J-Skins will give it everything they can. Start record, 5:07.
Tied twice today by two different athletes. See what these two monsters can do. 5'10". Damas J-Skins is hurt. He's got a bad Achilles, and he is not the monster that we've seen in the last 2 years.
Yeah, he's got an Achilles injury, and he's only 300ths off the start record.
And this is a little, not a great line out of 3, 4. If this goes down to 900ths here, I think the Koreans will beat him. No, he's pulling away, 15.
He had 1100ths from the first heat, so at the moment he's actually only 400ths quicker than the Korean to the Kreisel.
The Koreans have a chance with single digits. No, he's pulling away. Now, Oskars Melbardis, the veteran, is showing why he's one of the best. Now he's turning into a driver. He doesn't have that dominant start time.
Speed's
now
not as
he's
good.
just turning into a big-time driver.
Speed not as good as the Koreans, but they have enough in hand. 55.31, a tenth of a second better than Young Jung-won on that run alone.
But they wanted the same start as they had in the first run.
Yeah.
They came down here in the second run, only 10, 1200 slower. Another silver medal for Melbardis, like he had last weekend. But there's Brakeman, the double D as we call him.
Yeah.
He's a little wounded.
Well, like Holcomb, he needs that Christmas New Year break for rehab.
Let's watch them get in the sled here. Now, this is the guy that, you know, they own the start record. They had 5'10", 5'10", both runs. So even when this huge man is wounded, he's still, look at him. This is 6'4", 250 pounds, and he gets in with ballet-like movement.
Yeah.
Look at the crowd. Okay.
Oskars Melbardis leads. Last week's winner in 2-man and 4-man, Francesco Friedrich, to uphold German honors with Torsten Margis, the world champions here in February.
From what I've seen, this could be 5:06, 5:05. They could do the start record right here.
They might need to. New start record. Yes, 5:05.
Not the speed, though. He doesn't have the 45 speed that we've seen, but he's got a huge lead here.
1700s from the first heat out to 2500s. He's going away.
He won both races last week in Altenburg. I'm predicting now he's going to win the World Championship 2 and 4. He was one of the youngest ever world champions in 2-man bobsled 3 years ago when he captured the junior title and then the senior title. This kid is putting his name into the German books as one of the greatest ever at a very young age.
Yeah, get money on him now, because after Christmas, the odds are going to be ridiculously short on him winning again.
Oh, it's down to 12. This could be single digits. There should be enough. Lost a lot of time on the bottom. No, but enough. Gold medal. Tell you, he's 4 for 4. There's his coach on the left, Leopold. Garrett Leopold. Just another day. This kid is, I think he'd be competitive in anything he's done. I mean, this is his demeanor, calm, relaxed, athletics. He probably is one of the best athletic drivers in the field.
Yeah.
Just get used to hearing him, and he's very humble athlete too. Very humble athlete, and Germans are going to ride him for a few more Olympic Games.
You look at some of the great eras. You look at the Langen era. You look at the Langer era. I think
Wolfgang Hoppe, Harold Schodai.
We are in the beginning of another new era.
Wolfgang Zimmer in the 70s, 60s. This Francisco Friedrich. And his brakeman, 7,800 point decathlete. Not bad. Start record at the top of the track. Finish time at the bottom in the first run. Consistent. Hey, just
they moved the game on.
I'd like
here
to see
today.
somebody else win, but boy, this guy is winning. He's doing it all. He's doing it with his eyes, his hands, his legs. He's got the equipment, and he knows the equipment.
Look, you can't only enjoy the greats when their career is finished and go back and say, yeah, look how great Hoppe was. You've got to enjoy them when they're in their pomp, and Friedrich is in his pomp. Melbardis takes the silver, won another bronze medal. Cunningham, start draw 22, finishes 4th. He's going to be a happy bunny for the rest of the week, the rest of the month. Ugas Alims and Oskars Kiebermanis of Latvia rounding out the top half dozen. Chris Spring 11th, Max Arndt 13th. The Russians Zakharov and Stulnev. And even Stephen Holcomb, injured, busted up, barely able to walk, never mind run. 18th place, good result for him. Well, there is the view of the town of Winterberg.
Great race, boy.
Wow.
We got out of here, a beautiful morning. The weather was suspect yesterday.
Well, there's certainly, if you had a problem today, it wasn't down to the track. The track produced speed right from the very first sled to the very end. 48 runs. The track held up beautifully.
3, 5, and 6 for the Latvians today.
Yeah.
Whoa. There's the beautiful bridge walkway. What a park they have, a recreational park, mountain biking. Yeah. They got a pretty
well,
good...
you know, I mean, and that's how you keep the facility earning money for itself all year long. It's a summer facility as well as for a few weeks in the winter.
It's a sport park is the way they describe it.
Absolutely right.
You can see the ski hill. They need a little snow over there on the other side of the park. And
well, come the Christmas New Year break, hopefully they'll have enough to entice all the skiers down. The place is really busy in the summer. Lots of the hotels that you visit in the Alps in the winter are much busier in the summer.
Dutch Alps.
Yeah. So another fantastic race for Francesco Friedrich and Torsten Margis. And you've got to enjoy the greats and recognize their status when they're still competing. And no question, unless something happens in his career health-wise, Friedrich is going to be one of those big names that people will conjure up in 20 or 30 years' time still and go back as a reference for a man who defined his era, because he's already having that effect. No Glühwein, just happy souls. Is that the last Coke in the desert? I don't think so. Might be the first Coke in the morning, though. Beautiful day here. It's a little cloudy. It's certainly pretty cool, and that's going to keep conditions good for the women's bobsleigh race as well. That comes up shortly this afternoon. Winterberg, Germany, race 2 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup. Francesco Friedrich, 2-0. He has a perfect tally. Oskars Melbardis, 2 silvers. Yun Jung Won, 2 bronzes, and they lead the field. Nick Cunningham, start draw number 22 today. It'll be number 11 next week. That is a big day for him, and even Stephen Holcomb in 14th place. But today was all about the world champions. They won in February, their last race on this track in two-man. They won again today. They broke the start record in the first heat. They broke the track record in the first heat, the start record in the second heat, rather. And they just drove away from a field that had nothing to offer them.
Yeah, quite a move top of the leaderboard, except for here. Decathletes. There's at least 3 decathletes. Those 4 guys on the left. I don't know about the 2 guys on the right, but how about Korea?
Some happy Koreans. Well, that's the same podium as we had a week ago, and the Koreans are now starting to look like they feel they belong to be podium finishers. And for those 2 in the blue hat, Francesco Friedrich, in the black hat, Torsten Margis, world champions. Friedrich, double two-man world champion, and he's heading, it seems, inexorably towards a 3rd straight. So men's bob is done. Women's bob comes up next in Winterberg. The men will next be on track in the 4-man and then 2-man next weekend in Koenigsegg. Join us for all the action wherever you are. Meanwhile, from John and me, from the rest of the IBSF TV crew, from Winterberg, it's goodbye for now.